good, everyone? This is the All Facts Podcast, and I'm your host, Harsh Vikar. Today, we're going to be talking about the most exciting and biggest space missions slash projects that will happen in the year 2022. They'll launch. 2021 was a great year for space, and one of the biggest space missions was launched at the end of the year, and it was known as the long-delayed James Webb Telescope. The James Webb Telescope, if you don't know, was launched to observe the oldest and distant objects of space. It could analyze the formation of galaxies and like the first stars ever created, which was pretty cool. And another telescope that was launched is the IXPE, which was launched from the Falcon 9. And while there are more examples, let's talk about the 2022 space missions that I'm excited about, and you should be excited about too. And I'm also going to be speaking about what the purpose is for each launch and why it's important, and maybe the problems they can solve. Although we have had a fair share of launches already during this year, but let's get to it. Let's get to the three most exciting space projects in 2022. So the first mission comes from Blue Origin, and that is a New Glenn rocket. Blue Origin will send its first orbital rocket in late 2022, and it's named New Glenn after NASA's Mercury astronaut John Glenn. The New Glenn is a reusable heavy lift rocket designed to launch a variety of payloads. So it's originally slated to launch in 2021. However, it was delayed when Blue Origin lost out on the Space Force contract. The rocket would also be added to NASA's fleet of commercial launch vehicles. NASA has already used Blue Origin's suborbital rocket New Shepard. And one problem that is not looked at as much as the other grand challenges is weight. And in rockets, it's hard to distribute cargo to space due to the weight of the rocket. For example, if there are more materials and payload wanting to get shipped into space, the larger the weight, the bigger the spacecraft has to be, and the more propulsion needed, and the more expensive it'd take to send to space. So, however, Blue Origin will tend to change that as they're launching this, and since it will be on the low orbit Earth, this will definitely be a huge thing as for future ships to send payload, and so that the weight issue doesn't seem too bad, because they'll be sending that, and then they'll send that to the New Glenn, and the New Glenn will give it to like the astronauts or wherever they're going to colonize. So that's one mission I'm very excited about. So keep your eyes open for that. And before I get to the second mission, I'd like to talk about SpaceX. And Elon Musk just updated a few things. And during the presentation, Musk talked about the Starship's future plans and its current state. And he said it should be approved in March. And it is confident that the Starship will reach the orbit by the end of the year. And we all know that Starship's flight will bring SpaceX a huge step closer to sending people to Mars. So everyone should be already excited for Starship. I was going to initially put it into the top 3. However, since a lot of people know this will be launching soon, I just have to throw this out here. Since Starship is reusable, Elon Musk did tweet, "We can fly Starship around space and chomp up space debris with the moving fairing door." So meaning if we were to live on Mars, we'd have to clear the space junk before we fly to it. And that Starship will definitely help us clear out that space junk if needed. And now on to the second mission. The second mission, I'm actually more excited about this than the first one, to be completely honest, but let's just talk about it. The Europe Space Agency will be launching another Mars rover. It's known as the Rosalind Franklin. So ESA's, the Europe Space Agency, their Mini Cooper-sized rover that will launch this fall from Kazakhstan's Baikonur spaceport, and that will begin its 9-month journey to the Red Planet. And once it lands safely, the rover will drill into the Martian soil, searching for signs of ancient life. Why? Because if we see the signs of ancient life in Mars, then it will be so much easier to think about why we should live there. As right now, we're currently thinking of how should we live on Mars? Should we live underground? Should we live above ground, but we'll wear space suits once we get exposed to the cosmic radiation? We don't know. But this is why the Rosalind Franklin, which is European Space Agency's Mars rover, will be sent to space. As the first, they actually had a previous one. It was called Trace Gas Orbiter, and that landed on Mars in 2016, and it still serves as a relay for China's Perseverance and Zhurong rover, in addition to its duties analyzing the Martian atmosphere. So Europe Space Agency is not the only one. China also sent something a few years prior too. But now we looking at beyond the Rosalind Franklin, that would bring samples back from Mars, and it will show the logical next step for robotic exploration. And ESA is already defining a concept for a sample return mission working in cooperation with NASA. David Parker, who is the ESA's director of human and robotic exploration, he says that returning Martian samples is a huge challenge that will require multiple missions, each one successively more complex than the one before. He also adds that we want to bring the red planet closer to home. We want to delve into mysteries and bring back knowledge and benefits to people on Earth. Returned planetary samples are truly the gift that keeps on giving. Scientific treasure for generations to come. So that's enough of the ESA's Mini Cooper-sized rover, also known as Rosalind Franklin. This will be a great mission as it's going to be analyzing Martian atmosphere, and just to see if Mars, as I do believe, just to see if there is more to the Mars exploration, the Mars colonization process we need. We probably do have enough to take care of Mars. However, from understanding more, it's going to be a lot more safer for going to Mars. It's going to be a lot safer to actually finally go to Mars, because it's been delayed for multiple reasons. And like David Parker, he said this is a huge challenge that will require multiple missions. And I'm really excited for this because there's probably going to be new information we might not even know. And then it would probably bring many different technologies or even payload that will enter the Martian atmosphere. And then that can possibly help the process to going to Mars one day. So apart from the New Glenn and the Rosalind Franklin, there's one more thing I actually have to add, the third mission, which is one of the most anticipated missions this year, and it will be NASA's return to the lunar surface, which is the moon. More than 60 years after the Apollo missions touched down on the lunar surface, NASA is determined to return to the moon. Before the agency sends astronauts back to retrace Neil, Buzz, and the rest of the Apollo astronaut steps, they plan to conduct a series of critical flight tests, which is Artemis 1. And that is the first of these flight tests. And pending on the many late delays, NASA will debut the world's most powerful rocket. It's $20 billion, yes, billion, space launch system, an Orion crew capsule, and it will be launching in Florida soon enough. As the European Space Agency actually will also tag along for the ride. Like, they're going to be sending a service module that will tag along with the Artemis 1. And this spacecraft will travel along the loop-like orbit for 26 days before returning to Earth. And if I were to recap all of that, it'd be Artemis 1, which was the third mission, Blue Origin's New Glenn, and ESA's Rosalind Franklin rover, Mars rover. And also, we can't forget about Starship. I can't wait for any of these. And just to recap all of this, I'm excited for the fall of 2022, where the New Glenn rocket will be launched, maybe solving the weight issues. SpaceX's Starship that will be launched from anytime Elon Musk says so. And around September 20th, that's when the ESA will launch Rosalind Franklin rover to help analyze how to live on Mars. And finally, NASA's Artemis 1 mission, which will return to the moon as we tend to colonize it in the future. That's what the goal is. That's what the goal NASA wants to do at this point. And that's it. If there's anything I missed that you're very excited about, or if you want to hear me speak about more content like this, share it and let me know if you want me to talk about a certain thing. And let me know if you want me to talk about a certain thing. Send a message through Anchor if you're listening on Spotify, or comment if you're on YouTube. If you like this, enjoy, share, and I hope you learned something new. And have a great rest of your day. This is the All Facts Podcast, and I'm Harsh Vikar, and I'm out.